Hi guys, welcome. Danny here from the Magic Junk Drawer. So I had a question today from somebody, law of attraction wise, that wanted to know if you could manifest running into somebody. And absolutely 100% chance you can. So this is how you do it. The first thing that you have to do is you have to ask yourself if you believe that it's possible. So let's say, for example, I haven't seen Joe for a while, and I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking about Joe and it's no big deal, and I'm like, gee, I haven't run into Joe in a while. And then you forget about it, and then you really forget about it, and you will. If it's not somebody that is constantly on your mind, you're going to forget about it. And what's going to happen is you can run into them. Now, does it matter where in the world they are? No, it doesn't. Because mountains move, situations change, circumstances change, people come back and visit. There's all kinds of things that happen. When divine timing happens, divine timing happens. And you can't make that happen. Like it just happens. So that's kind of a little bit of a contradiction, but here it is. And I've told this story a million times, but I'm going to say it again because it is the perfect law of attraction story. My best friend that I have known since I'm 16, I talk to her all the time. She comes to my yoga classes on Mondays, not every Monday because it depends on her schedule, but I see her frequently. She used to work at a craft store when we were in college, like over summer break. And I don't know why, we just thought it was really funny that she worked there. And I was on my way to go to my voice lessons, which is in the town that she lives in. And the town where the craft shop is like the town before it. So on my way to my voice lesson, I stopped at the craft store to pick up whatever I was doing at the time. While I was in the craft store, because she worked there, I was laughing, remembering how she worked there when we were in college. And all of a sudden, like the Bee Gees or somebody came on the radio, and I was just thinking of her and laughing in the store because, I don't know, because that was the time. That's what I remembered, and we thought it was funny, and it was cracking me up. And when I left the store, I kid you not, the door opened, I walked out, and I'm stepped on the curb, and there she is. She's coming. She wasn't going to the craft store. She was going to the pet store, which was the next shop over. And I was laughing when I came out of the store, and she's like, "What are you laughing at?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I was just thinking about how I used to work here." And we were hysterical talking about it. But here is how it was set up. First of all, I was laughing. So it was funny, right? So laughing, being happy, being excited raises your vibration. Then she's my friend, so I don't have any blocks about reaching out to her. I don't have any blocks about her showing up. I know she will. It's not something I have to think about. I don't have to ever go to yoga on Monday and stress out wondering whether or not she's going to come. It doesn't even cross my mind. I know that if she's off, she's going to come. And if she's not off, she won't be there. It's not something I would ever pull tarot cards for. It's not something I would ever, research astrologically about. I just know that when she is not working, she comes to my yoga class. Every time, every Monday night. So you can see how it was the perfect scenario. There was no doubt. There was nothing. I wasn't trying to manifest her. I was just simply remembering the times we had and laughing about how funny it was. And she popped up. Then I recently told this story too about this woman, Suzanne, that comes and takes classes with me on Sunday. Now, she takes classes on Sunday morning, and the two classes I have, one is from 9 to 10, and the other one is from 10:30 to 11:45. And she lives, I'm going to say, probably half hour or so away from the studio. So when she comes, a lot of times she'll take both classes. She'll take them back to back. So I was teaching the 9 o'clock class once, and this happens to me a lot. And I just happened to notice that she wasn't there. And I was like, oh, it's funny, Suzanne's not here today. And after I thought that in my head, I'm like, oh, she's coming to the 10:30 class. Because it popped into my head, right? I turned around and I noticed Suzanne's not here. And when I looked at my watch, because I have to keep track of the time, it was about 9:30, which probably would have been the time that she was getting ready to leave to come to my class. And sure enough, she showed up for the 10:30 class that morning. And perfect law of attraction, because not somebody that I have to freak out over, not somebody I have to pull tarot cards over, not somebody who I have to wonder, are they going to show up? Is she not going to show up? What is she thinking? It simply entered my mind. I let it go, and then she showed up. So I think that for a lot of times, there's, like with yoga students, and it happens to me all the time with yoga students. Somebody will pop up into my head and I'm like, oh, they're coming to class tonight. It always happens. And if it's not that night, it's the next day. It's usually the same night. But these are situations with people where I don't have an emotional tie that I'm stressing out over. These are just random people. It's like, oh, I haven't seen Susie Q in a while. And then all of a sudden, there she shows up. Because we're on the same wavelength. Because in order for her to show up in my life, right, I have to be thinking about her, but she's got to be thinking about me too. So she had to be thinking about me coming to my class to take my class. I picked up on it, and boom, we were both in the same place at the same time. So my suggestion is, if you want to bump into somebody, the first thing you have to do is believe that it's possible. And it doesn't matter where in the world they are, because they can still show up. I was years ago at the Jersey Shore with two of my friends. And I was walking down the boardwalk with my two friends. And from a random beach house, there were students yelling out the window at me because they recognized me from hot yoga. Now, we're still in the state of New Jersey, but we were a good 3 hours away from where we were, and we still ran into each other. I was also at the shore once and ran into customers from A&P. All right, we're in the same vicinity, a tri-state area, but we're still a good distance apart. It can happen. It happens to us all the time. You first have to believe that it can happen, and then you have to cut the emotional ties to it, which is where I think most people have the most problem, because it's in their head and it's hard to not think about it. So it's like if I were to say something to you like, well, don't think about dogs. Dogs are on your mind. Like that's just, like you just imagine dogs when you hear it. So the best thing that I can tell you to do is to get busy doing something that requires brain power. So something where you have to read instructions, or something that you can't do on autopilot. Like most of us can go out for a drive and be thinking about a million different things. I can go out for a run and think about a million different things, but I can't sit down and crochet without paying attention to what I'm doing. So find something that occupies you enough to remove yourself from the situation. You have to first believe it can happen, put the thought out into the universe, and then get busy doing something else. Something that requires brain power, that you cannot do two things at once. It's not like vacuuming where you're pushing the vacuum around and thinking about all other things. You have to really be focused on what it is that you're doing to let go of whatever it is that you want to manifest. But you have to think it's possible. See, that's what it always comes down to. It's like the belief systems that we have, which I'm going to get to in another video. So you want to bump into someone, you just have to think, I intend to run into George sometime soon, right? You're not going to put a time frame on it because it's going to happen when you least expect it. That's what's going to happen. The day that I ran into my friend at the craft store, I wasn't thinking she was going to be outside when I left the store. It just happened. I mean, I knew that I was going to talk to her eventually. She's my friend, and that was a Wednesday because I was going to my voice lessons. I would have seen her on Monday. But, we hear things like this all the time. Like, oh, I was just thinking about you. And then the person calls. Or I was just thinking about you and then you run into them. It's very common. It's just happening with people who we don't have that emotional connection to or that emotional need. Now, neediness, desperation, wanting, desiring, longing, all of those emotions push people away. They're not pulling people forward. They're repelling people. So when you're starting to feel like, I want him, I need him, I have to see him, all of those things push people away. Now, it might not be conscious. It's not like they're saying, oh my God, I gotta get away from her. But it's not drawing them in. People don't get drawn in by need. People can be manipulated, but you can only manipulate somebody so much before that doesn't work anymore. You can't use negative emotions to create positive things. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you want something positive to happen, you have to work with the positive. So if you're not getting what you want from somebody, this would kill me. And I would hear this all the time. I would hear it mostly from my guy friends. They broke up with somebody, or if they were messing around or something, and one girl found out about the other, all of a sudden the two girls would become best friends, and then they would do whatever they could to take down the guy. How does that help anybody's situation? I could never understand that. And I would say, I'm like, but how does that help the situation? It doesn't. It doesn't. Them pairing up to face off against the guy does not help anything. You can't use negative emotions and negative to create a positive result. It just doesn't work. So you want to focus on what you can do that's positive. So if you're having trouble manifesting, and a lot of people do, a lot of people have trouble manifesting when it comes to people that they have an emotional attachment to. They don't have problems manifesting their best friend from high school. They don't have problems manifesting vacation, or some people don't have any problems at all with manifesting money. They have problems when it comes to a certain person because they have blocks up because they don't believe that they're good enough, or they're pushing out a very needy, desperate vibe. And needy and desperate are negative vibes. Lowered the vibration are not going to pull somebody in. They're going to repel them. So you have to change your emotional state. Now, for many, many years, I always went with intuition, and I always went I would go to my psychic and I would talk to her. And if I had a feeling and it was really strong, I knew it was going to happen. But now what we're trying to do is flip the script. Feel that emotion strong so it happens. So in other words, you want to channel that feeling first and then see it come into fruition. So for example, you want to see yourself having that run-in with the person, feeling how it would feel to bump into them. Then it happens, rather than like willy-nilly feeling like, oh, I feel like something good is going to happen, and then it happens. It happens because you had that feeling. You didn't get the feeling because it was going to happen. See what I mean? So at the end of the day, the tarot cards, and I've said this before, are just a guide to tell you what's happening right now. So if you get a negative answer, right, and the answer is he's not coming forward just yet, then you have to change how you feel about the situation. You have to ask yourself what it is that you think about the situation that is causing it not to change, because you can change it. What are your thoughts? What are your emotions? What are you putting out into the universe? begging people, needing things from people, being desperate. All of those emotions are negative emotions that push people further away. You want to cultivate the opposite of that to draw them in. Nobody returns back to somebody, oh, well, she was really desperate and needy, so I came back. Like, that just doesn't happen. And it's an intuitive kind of thing. People don't know why they're running away. They just know that they're running away. They just know that they're not coming forward. So you have to kind of figure out what it is that's going on in your emotional being and change that before you can move forward with the manifestation process. And then once you start to change that, things will start to happen quickly. So you can always use the example of me and my friend. When you're trying to call someone into your life, think about what I did that day. And I did it totally unconscious. I was just, thinking about her, and she showed up. It was just like that. But that's how easy it can be if you don't have any blocks and if you don't have any negativity. I didn't need her to show up. I wasn't desperate for her to show up. I wasn't pulling tarot cards to see if she was going to show up. You know what I'm saying? I was just like thinking about her, and there she was. So I hope that helps. Let me know if it's not clear, and I'll do another video, because I know this stuff can get a little complicated. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.